Take the motor tester board supplied with issue 7 and remove it from its protective box. The board now has a permanent function in your printer, but the box is no longer required. Carefully unplug the motor driver board. Refit the motor driver board to sockets H2 on the MCU controller board. The rows of 7 and 8 pins must fit into the corresponding arrays of sockets. Fit the motor tester board over the 4 screw posts on the front bottom cover towards the centre left. Fix with 4 collar-headed self-tapping screws. Fit the MCU controller board over the 4 screw posts on the front bottom cover, closest to the front, and with socket H2 on the left. Fix with 4 collar-headed self-tapping screws. Plug one end of the 7-wire cable into socket J2 on the motor tester board. Plug the other end of this cable into socket JP10 on the front right side of the MCU controller board. Plug the red and black wires from the hood limit switch into socket J5 on the motor tester board. Plug the red, black, green and blue wires from the power switch and LED board into socket J6 on the motor tester board. Plug the red and black wires from the power switch and LED board into socket J4 on the motor tester board. Plug the red, blue, green and black wires from the X-axis motor into socket JP1 on the MCU controller board. Plug the red and black wires from the X-axis limit switch into socket JP2 on the MCU controller board. Plug the red, blue, green and black wires from the Y-axis motor into socket JP3. Plug the red and black wires from the Y-axis limit switch into socket JP4. Plug the red, blue, green and black wires from the Z-axis motor into socket JP5. Plug the red and black wires from the Z-axis limit switch into socket JP6. Plug the 10-wire ribbon cable from the heater and heat sensor into socket JP8. Plug the black shielded wires from the USB socket into socket JP16 on the MCU controller board. This is how the wiring should look at this stage. Carefully push the second motor driver board into sockets H4 on the MCU controller board. The rows of 7 and 8 pins must fit into the corresponding arrays of sockets. Push the third motor driver board into sockets H6 on the MCU controller board. Push the fourth motor driver board into sockets H8 on the MCU controller board. Push the plug on one end of the 16-wire ribbon cable into socket JP7 on the MCU controller board. Unbolt the Z-axis motor cover from the rear of the main frame. There are 2 bolts at the top. And 2 bolts at the bottom. Now remove the cover. Fit the 16-wire ribbon cable into the slot at the top of the cover. Now refit the cover to the main frame, ensuring that all the wires are enclosed. Refix the cover with the 4 bolts. The ribbon cable should now extend freely from the top of the Z-axis motor cover. All the wires should trail through the bottom of the cover, including those from the Y-axis motor. Fit the cooling fan over the grille on the inside of the rear bottom cover. Ensure that the fan blades are uppermost and the motor beneath. Fit 4 long bolts down into the corners of the fan casing. Turn the printer onto its side, then secure the 4 bolts with 4 nuts. Use pliers or a small spanner to tighten the nuts. Plug the cooling fan wires into socket JP11 on the MCU controller board. The power module is supplied fully assembled. Do not take it apart or tamper with it in any way. The voltage selector should be preset to your country's standard. Carefully tidy the wires inside the printer to make clear access for the power module. With the cable to the back and the fan grille uppermost, carefully slide the power module into the base of the printer. Ensure that no wires are trapped beneath the power module. Push the plug from the main socket and power switch firmly into the 3-pin socket at the rear of the power module. Again, check that all the wires are freely arranged beside the power module and not trapped beneath it. Holding the power module firmly in place with one hand, turn the printer onto its side, then fix the power module with 4 bolts from beneath. Connect the jack plug from the power module into the power socket JP9 on the MCU controller board. Recheck that the power module is firmly and correctly fitted. Ensure that the wiring is tucked away from the cooling fan grill in the top of the power module, and that the power plug is inserted securely at the rear. Ensure that the switch S2 on the motor tester board is set to the on position. This is with the toggle switch moved towards the back of the printer closest to socket J1. Fit the rear top plate to the back of the printer, ensuring that the 6 screw posts on the underside align with the corresponding sockets around the edges of the control unit rear cover. Lay the printer onto its side and fix the back top plate with 6 self-tapping screws from beneath. Peel the backing paper from the self-adhesive rubber hood buffers and stick them into the circular recesses at the left and right corners of the rear top plate. Keep the roller holder bracket and 4 screws until they can be assembled with the next issue. Fit the roller holder to the top of the roller holder bracket with a rounded surface uppermost. Fit 2 countersunk bolts through the bracket. Secure with 2 nuts using pliers or a small spanner to tighten them. Fit the roller holder bracket to the square recess in the rear top plate so that the holder points away from the main frame. Fix with 4 self-tapping screws. Fit the front top plate to the front of the printer, ensuring that the 6 screw posts on the underside align with the corresponding sockets around the edges of the control unit front cover. Lay the printer onto its side and fix the front top plate with 6 self-tapping screws from beneath. Peel the backing paper from the self-adhesive rubber hood buffers and stick them into the circular recesses at the left and right corners of the front top plate. Plug the mains cable into the 3-pin socket at the rear of the printer. Remove the protective cover from the pins of the mains plug. Plug the square USB plug into the socket at the rear of the printer. The other end will be plugged into a suitable computer. Stage 8 is now complete. Refer to the magazine for full user instructions at this stage.